In this speaking practice test, you will be able to demonstrate your ability to speak about a variety of topics. You will answer 6 questions by speaking into a microphone. Answer each of the questions as completely as possible. In questions 1 and 2, you will speak about familiar topics. Your response will be scored on your ability to speak clearly and coherently about the topics. In questions 3 and 4, you will first read a short text. The text will go away, and you will then listen to a talk on the same topic. You will then be asked a question about what you have read and heard. You will need to combine appropriate information from the text and the talk to provide a complete answer to the question. Your response will be scored on your ability to speak clearly and coherently, and on your ability to accurately convey information about what you have read and heard. In questions 5 and 6, you will listen to part of a conversation or a lecture. You will then be asked a question about what you have heard. Your response will be scored on your ability to speak clearly and coherently, and on your ability to accurately convey information about what you heard. In questions 3 through 6, you may take notes while you read and while you listen to the conversations and lectures. You may use your notes to help prepare your response. Listen carefully to the directions for each question. The directions will not be written on the screen. For each question, you will be given a short time to prepare your response, 15 to 30 seconds depending on the question. A clock will show how much preparation time is remaining. When the preparation time is up, you will be told to begin your response. A clock will show how much response time is remaining. A message will appear on the screen when the response time has ended. In this practice test, you can click on Stop Recording to stop the recording of your response. You can also click on Playback Response to hear your recording. Once you have heard your response, you will have the opportunity to record your response again or confirm that you want to keep your response. In questions 3 through 6, you can click on Replay Talk if you want to listen to the conversations or lectures again. During this practice test, you may click the pause icon at any time. This will stop the test until you decide to continue. You may continue the test in a few minutes or at any time during the period that your test is activated. Please note that the Stop Recording, Playback Response, Replay Talk, and Pause icons are available only for this practice test. They will not be available during the actual test. If you do not use these functions, your experience will be closer to the actual Toefl test experience. Performance on the speaking practice test is not necessarily a predictor of how you might perform during an actual Toefl administration. Click on Continue to go on. Number 1. In this question, you will be asked to talk about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you will have 15 seconds to prepare your response and 45 seconds to speak.
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep.
Number 2. In this question, you will be asked to give your opinion about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you will have 15 seconds to prepare your response and 45 seconds to speak. Now listen to two students discussing the letter.
Did you see Jason's letter in the paper? What'd you think?
I think he's wrong. That field is useful to students. It's used all the time. Just because it isn't used for sports anymore doesn't mean it's useless. Plenty of people go there to relax or study and stuff. Don't you?
Yeah, sometimes. I think students who live in the nearby dorms hang out there a lot. It's a nice spot.
That's what I'm saying. And it's great to just have an open area like that, someplace you can study outside or take a nap or whatever. We don't have enough places like that on campus. I don't want to see it covered over with pavement and a bunch of cars.
Guess it would be kind of a shame.
And I don't believe what he says about needing it either.
What do you mean? It's right next to all the dorms.
But there's already enough parking at every dorm, and those lots are never full as it is.
True, but some students commute and...
Most of them would rather park in the lots that are closer to the classroom buildings. It's at least a 15-minute walk from Sanders Field.
Yeah, it's not that close to the main part of campus.
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep.
Number 3. In this question, you will read a short passage about a campus situation and then listen to a talk on the same topic. You will then answer a question using information from both the reading passage and the talk. After the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. Now listen to part of a lecture in a psychology class.
Now, before we get into some of the research in this area, Let me tell you about something that just happened to me that's a good example of this. The other night, I was invited to a dinner party at a friend's house. Now, you should know that this friend, Mary, she's a really great cook, and I was really looking forward to this dinner. So that night, everything was going great until she served the main dish. I could tell from the smell that she'd used a certain spice that I really dislike. It's garlic. I can't stand even the smell of it, and it was clear that this dish had a lot of garlic in it. Now, of course, I didn't want to offend my friend. I didn't want her to know I didn't like the food, so I tried to behave normally and eat as much as I could, but I was sure she could tell I wasn't enjoying it. Well, later, I was walking home with another friend, Mike. He'd also been at the dinner. I started telling him how worried I was that I had offended Mary. I told him, about how I really hated garlic and how I was sure that Mary had noticed that I didn't like the meal, that I was sure I had insulted our host. Well, he was really surprised. He hadn't noticed that at all. In fact, he thought I seemed to be enjoying the meal. That made me feel a little better. But anyway, the next day, I called Mary to thank her for inviting me to the dinner. She was really pleased and talked about how nice the party was and how glad she was that everyone had liked the food so much. It was pretty clear from our conversation that she hadn't noticed anything. I guess my feelings hadn't been as obvious to Mary or to Mike as I thought they were.
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep.
Number 4. In this question, you will read a short passage on an academic subject and then listen to a talk on the same topic. You will then answer a question using information from both the reading passage and the talk. After the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. Listen to part of a talk in a biology class.
Okay, so on the topic of animal survival strategies, one type of strategy that's fascinated people for centuries is protective resemblance. That's when animals resemble their environment in some way or another by taking on the color or shape, or both, of the physical objects that are behind or beneath them. Today we'll talk about two kinds. Which kind of protective resemblance an animal has? Well, it depends on whether the animal moves through different environments in the course of its life, or whether its environment is more or less permanent. For example, animals like the horned frog, well, they've got the permanent kind of protective resemblance, which is fine, because, well, during the course of their lives, they don't visit other places. So the horned frog is brown, just like the dead leaves on the forest floor where it lives. And it's got brown lines running down its body, just like the veins of the leaves. The color and shape of its protective resemblance is fixed, like its environment. So when the horned frog is on the forest floor, It's almost impossible for predators to see it. Now, other animals like the Anole lizard display a different sort of protective resemblance. They actually change color, which is important for them because they travel through different environments as they live and grow. So the protective resemblance they exhibit is adaptive, depending on the environment they're in. The Anole lizard has special moving pigments in its cells, which change to match the color of whatever environment it's currently occupying. If the Anole lizard is walking among the dead leaves of the forest floor, it'll turn the same brown color as the leaves. But if the Anole lizard runs into some green shrubs, well, it'll turn green.
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please prepare your answer after the beep.